Hana, please listen to me. You can't do this to me. She turned towards him, anger and a feeling of betrayal hurting her even more, seeing how he was pleading her to explain himself when there's nothing left to explain. Why I can't do that? Do I owe you anything? There's nothing left between us. I will never want to see your face again. Her anger was justified, but Jungkook was forced to do that. His heart was sinking to see the love of his life walking away from his life. Hannah, please try to understand. It's not what it seems. I never wanted this to happen. Understand? What is there to understand? You are getting married, Jungkook, to someone else. How could you do this to me? I had no choice. My parents, your parents, so they can just dictate who you marry. What about us? What about our plans, our dreams? Jungkook struggled to hold back his tears. I know it's hard to believe, but I still love you, Hana. I always will. Hana's voice trembled with anger. Love? If you loved me, you wouldn't be marrying someone else. Goodbye, Jungkook. I don't want to be a part of this. Hana walked away, Jungkook's heart shattered. He felt overwhelmed with guilt and regret for the forced marriage that torn them apart. Despite wanting to run after Hana, he knew he couldn't abandon his family's wishes. Back to present. A week has passed since your marriage and things were tensed from day one. You knew what you chose for yourself, but sometimes things has to be worse before they get alright. Jungkook already asked you to say no to this marriage because he already had someone else in his life that he used to love so much, but you remained silent and now he hates you. He didn't able to stand against his parents because they never listened to him, but he expected from you to make things right. He doesn't talk to you, but you are fulfilling your responsibility, hoping one day things can be fine. You were in the kitchen preparing breakfast in silence. Jungkook came in the kitchen, his face as always cold and emotionless. Without even looking at you, he poured himself a cup of coffee. You sat down across him, forcing a smile that looked out of place. Good morning, you said softly, but he didn't respond as expected. His focus remained on the coffee. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. You tried to say something to start communication, but nothing came out. I have made your favorite breakfast today. I thought it might help to start the day on a better note. You finally said, gathering your courage, and finally he looked at you. But there was no love or anything in his eyes. You don't have to do this, pretending like everything is fine, he said, setting down his cup. I'm not pretending. I just want to try to make things better between us, even if it's just a small step. Your voice trembled. Better? How can you make things better when the foundation is built on something so wrong? This marriage was never supposed to happen, and you know it, he said, raising his voice slightly. You bit your lip, the guilt and regret washing over you once more. I know, and I'm sorry, but we are here now and I think we should at least try to make the best of it. He looked at you in disbelief. Try to make the best of it? What are you, huh? What do you actually want to do? Things can never be good between us. I told you already that I love someone else. I begged you to say no. I believed that you'll do something, but you didn't listen, and now you are expecting to make the best out of it. Forget it. I would never love you. You looked down, unable to tell him the truth, but his words and hate wasn't easy either. You took away my choice, my happiness. Hana left me because of this marriage. How am I supposed to just accept that? I'm sorry, I know I've hurt you. No, you didn't only hurt me, but you have ruined your own life as well. And you will regret it for the rest of your life. He got up and left from there in anger. You knew agreeing to the marriage would bring Jungkook's anger and end his relationship with Hana, But your reason went beyond mere desire. The truth was complicated, tied to a painful history with Hana that Jungkook didn't know about. Years ago, you and Hana were close friends, almost like sisters. You shared everything, dreams, secrets, and fears. But as time went on, Hana's true nature emerged. She became manipulative and deceitful, taking advantage of your trust and kindness. The breaking point came when Hana betrayed you in the worst way possible. She seduced your boyfriend, leading him to cheat on you with her. When you found out, you were devastated. Your relationship ended and your trust was shattered. Hana spread rumors to justify her actions, isolating you socially and leaving you heartbroken and alone. When you discovered that Jungkook was dating Hana, your heart sank. You couldn't bear the thought of him being hurt by her like you had been. Despite your feeling for Jungkook, you genuinely wanted to protect him from the toxic influence of Hana. However, you knew confronting him directly wouldn't work. He was deeply in love and wouldn't believe you. The arranged marriage, though not ideal, seemed like the only way to intervene. When Jungkook begged you to refuse, it tore at your heart, but you felt trapped. You believed that eventually he would see Hana for who she truly was, and maybe, just maybe, he would understand your actions. The marriage was a desperate gamble to protect him from pain, even if it meant enduring his hatred. Jungkook was sitting in the living room thinking about how his life has changed and ended up this way. You both knew each other but not that close. You are the daughter of his father's friend and you guys have only met in parties and events. When he found out that his father had fixed his marriage with you, he was speechless. He loved Hana more than anything and he only wanted to marry her, but his family didn't listen, so he begged you, told you the truth hoping that you would understand and would not want to marry him after knowing he already loved someone else. But to his disappointment, you didn't say anything and the marriage happened. Hana broke up with him. Now he feels like a coward who didn't able to take a stand for himself, but his anger is on you as well. If you could have supported him, things would be different. His expressions hardened when he saw you coming in the living room. He got up and was about to leave, but you called his name. Jungkook, please, please listen to me. He turned to face you, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and pain. What do you want now? His words were filled with bitterness and the pent-up frustration. You stepped closer, your eyes pleading for understanding. I know you are angry and you have every right to be, but please let me explain. He scoffed, the bitterness of his disappointment bubbling to the surface. Explain what? How you couldn't even stand up for me when I needed you the most? Tears filled in your eyes, your voice trembling as you struggled to find the right words. I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe if I said something, it would only make things worse. He shook his head in disbelief. His anger was insane and he was trying his best to hold it inside. Worse? How could it possibly be worse than this? My life is ruined and you did nothing to stop it. You reached out to touch him, but he stepped back, the pain in his eyes piercing your heart. Jungkook, please. You pleaded, your voice barely a whisper. I never meant to hurt you. I don't know how to handle. He turned away, unable to bear the weight of your words any longer. It's too late for apologies. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you. And with that, he left the room, leaving you alone with the crushing weight of his disappointment and the echoes of your own regret. Jungkook was sitting on his chair. He spent most of his time at work, because if he sees you, he only feels hatred towards you. It's not just hate but anger because you betrayed him. He still thinks about Hana. about breaking her heart, causing her pain that made her go away from him. He tried to find out where she is, but there's no use. His fingers hovered over his phone. He wanted to call her, to hear her voice, and to ask her for forgiveness. You were right. I'm really a coward who didn't able to fight for my love. Suddenly his phone buzzed, showing a text message. He sighed and opened it only to read a message from his friend. His heart skipped a beat, the words made his heart clenched. I thought you should know Hana wasn't honest about being your first. She was in a relationship before you and she's living with someone else now. But there's more. Ryan and Hana had some connection in the past. I didn't want to believe it, but when I heard that she was also in a relationship with Ryan's ex-boyfriend who cheated on her with Hana, maybe that's why Ryan took that decision. Maybe because she knew all the truth about her. Jungkook's grip on the phone tightened, the weight of the revelation hitting him like a ton of bricks. He felt like the ground had been ripped out from under him, the foundation of his beliefs crumbling to dust. All this time he had clung to the idea that Hana was his one true love, the only person who had ever held his heart. But now, knowing with the harsh reality of her deception, he didn't know what to believe anymore. His mind raced with questions, doubts, and regrets, each one more painful than the last. How could he have been so blind? How could he have trusted her so completely only to be betrayed in the cruelest of ways? He called his friend and tried to know the whole truth, to make sure if he's saying the truth because he still denied to believe all that. But when his friend sent him pictures of Hana hanging out in Paris with a guy and they seemed close, his heart completely shattered. All this time he was hating you, blaming you, but the real culprit was with him, inside him. He leaned back against the chair as the tears started to fall from the corner of his eyes. You were sitting in the living room, lost in your thoughts. You knew that not only you have ruined your own life, but also Jungkook's as well, because the method you chose to handle things wasn't great. You decided to tell him the truth, the reason why you didn't able to brought yourself to say no, but you don't want to hurt him anymore and decided to ask for divorce. This is life and not a game. In the long run, you will just end up hurting yourself the way no one could ever heal you. Moments later, Jungkook came. He was looking devastated. That made you a little concerned. His usual cold face was dull today and he wasn't looking in his best condition. You saw the marks of dry tears on his cheeks. He got up while he simply walked in the living room and dropped himself on the couch. You watched him, the silence between you heavy and suffocating. Something seemed different about him, as if he were carrying a burden too heavy to bear alone. Jungkook, you didn't able to hold back yourself and came near him. Is everything okay? He looked up, his eyes meeting yours for the first time in what felt like an eternity. There was a vulnerability in his gaze, a flicker of something that stirred your heart. Why didn't you tell me the truth? Your heart dropped when you heard his words. You were not sure what he was talking about, but his voice looked vulnerable. What truth? What are you talking about? About Hana. You know her, right? Your face dropped while he got up and came near you. I found the truth. You lowered your eyes. I didn't want to hurt you. He chuckled weakly. But you did, and then took all the blame on yourself. Why did you do that? You again looked up, tears filling up your eyes. Would you believe me if I tell you the truth? You must have thought that I was trying to manipulate you. Jungkook's eyes softened because there was no lie in this. He wouldn't have believed you at that time. That's why I remained silent. I took the blame and I knew you'll hate me forever. But she already had ruined my life. I didn't want to let her ruin one more, not when I fell in love with you. Jungkook's heart dropped when you said that you love him. I want to hear the truth, everything that I don't know. You took a deep breath, gathering your courage to reveal the truth that had been weighing heavily on your heart. Hana, she was more than just a friend. We were close once, like sisters. But things changed. She betrayed me in the worst possible way, Jungkook. She spread rumors, turned people against me, and even stole my boyfriend. Jungkook's expression darkened as he listened. She was not honest with you also, but you were in love with her blindly. I knew I have to bear your hate for the rest of my life, but for your future, for our families, I did that. I'm sorry for forcing myself on you. I'm ready to break this marriage. I don't want to be the reason for your misery. You can divorce me if you want. Jungkook found his heart clenching after knowing the truth, and the revelation of Hana's true character hit him hard. I don't know what to believe anymore. But you are not going anywhere until things get clear. You looked at him confused, but before any of you say anything, the doorbell rang. A maid opened the door. You and Jungkook were surprised when you saw Hana walking inside the living room. Her eyes fell on you and Jungkook. She got a little bit surprised to see you, a fear appearing on her face. Meanwhile, Jungkook's heart clenched, his jaws tightened seeing her. The love he had for her was now replaced by anger. Jungkook, I'm back. I'm sorry for not listening to you, but now I'm ready to accept you. Your heart clenched and you looked at Jungkook, trying to read his eyes. It's not easy to forget your first love, but little did you want to know what he'll do in this situation. After knowing her real face,